Well, howdy. I'm Gray Pilgrim, and finally, I got this darn GoPro fixed. My problem was a pretty simple one. The gizmo that holds, oh, where did I put it? There it is. The gizmo that holds the GoPro onto the tripod is this little tiny thing here, and I only had one of them, and it cracked. So I ordered a dozen. So that should not be a problem again. Now the GoPro itself will die. You know, I know my luck. Well, anyway, today I thought I'd talk about basically not Colt, but 19th century pistols. And I have a selection of them I thought I'd talk about. First of all, are you familiar with the Roland White patent? A guy named Roland White came up with an absolutely awful design for a firearm, for a handgun. And it worked, sort of, kind of, but no. When he took out the patent, he got the patent on it. The one thing in it that was most unique was the bored-through cylinder, meaning all the way through. An old Colt cap and ball, the cap fits on the rear, not the. You can't throw a cylinder through it because you got to stuff all the stuff up front and then put the cap on the back. Well, anyway, Smith & Wesson bought the patent from him, and there's a whole story of what went on with that. But it lasted until I think it was 1870, and then from 1870 on, when the patent expired, there was a flurry of people trying to develop their own, and I have a selection of those. I have some earlier cap and ball ones as well I want to show. Yeah, hold on just a second. Let me turn this down a little bit. Yeah, you see those? These are cap and ball. These are metallic cartridge. Every one of these, by the way, is a rimfire. And this is what everybody shot in the 19th century. This was what it was all about. 22 short black powder. These ones over here are black powder. These are modern, and I'll have to remake them. But these are original 19th century short black powder rounds. After Smith & Wesson first introduced this, and they introduced it in this gun, this is the number one, I think it's a Type 2. Type 1s have a round side plate on them. Smith & Wesson. After this gun, well, everybody in the world started making their own after 1870. And I tell a lie, I do have one Colt. This one, with a round side plate. This is a 22 short black powder rimfire revolver. This one is from, I think, 1871. And this one is from around 1870, 60, somewhere. I don't know when exactly they came out. If you're interested, go see a video by Ethan Woods. He talks about them. This one here is not a revolver. This is a single shot breech load. And the way it works is you push this lever to open it up. This is Damascus barrel, and it's a single shot. This is a Frank Wesson. It's the first gun he came out with. And a Frank Wesson is kind of rare. He's the younger brother of Daniel Wesson of Smith & Wesson, not affiliated. But his brother-in-law became kind of famous, making one of the others of these. I forget which one, but one of these happens to be a, I can look it up, but one of them is a Wesson and Harrington. Harrington of Harrington and Richards. Well, Harrington happened to marry one of the Smith & Wesson girls and became all in the family there. And Frank and Harrington decided to do a partnership for a while. That broke up, and then he did it with Richards instead. But anyway, this one, this one and this one are not 22 rimfire. They're 32 rimfire. This is 32 rimfire short. It's a full box. And this is 32 rimfire long. I have a few of these. I have another 50 of these. And they're kind of rarer than rooster eggs these days. And speaking of rare, these two are pretty rare. This is an Allen and Davis, I think it's called, pepper box. And this is from 1845. It says 1845 on it. It's a smoothbore, well, as you can see, it's not exactly a revolver. It's a revolving behemoth. And I made a video about it called The Gun That Won the East, because this was the most popular gun you could find in, say, New York or Baltimore or Philadelphia back in the 19th century. And this one went down the Mormon Trail. This is a Josiah Ellis 1854 revolver in 31 Colt, or 31 ball, excuse me. And it's one of 625 of these that were ever made. They're made by a custom gunsmith who happens to be a Mormon who went with the wagon trains along the Mormon Trail and ended up in Salt Lake City. It's a very similar story to that of John Browning, but, well, more like Jonathan Browning, John Browning's father. But Josiah never became as wow famous as Jonathan Browning's son did. But, you know, he was pretty innovative. As you can see, it basically is patterned off the pepper box design, but instead of having revolving barrels, it uses a revolving cylinder and one barrel, which was unique. This one is in unfireable condition because these cones or nipples, unlike modern ones which are screwed in and you can just replace, these ones are actually fabricated into the cylinder itself, and every one of them has been completely peened down by this hammer here. So from years of people dry firing it. If you ever have a cap and ball revolver of any kind, do not dry fire it. The problem is that you will peen down the nipple. And in this case, those nipples you just cannot replace them. So I can never fire this. But 625 of them were made. I mean, good Lord, this is so rare. Who wants to? Anyway, here's my collection of some 19th century small, well, mainly cylinder guns or centerfire guns and 2 cap and ball guns. All of these are rather rare these days. These ones here, by the way, I think I've done a video about most of them before. Most of these were the kind that you'd find in the garter of a dance hall girl. They were carried for self-protection as sort of a last-ditch thing. These are all, every one of these is what you'd call a belly gun. You know, Colt also is in this market, but Smith & Wesson, Harrington & Richards, and a lot of the other smaller dealers really were into it from, they made a lot cheaper guns, let's put it that way. And, you know, when you could buy a Colt for maybe $14, you could buy that for $4. That was the difference. And these guys made a living. I mean, this is early American industrial technology at work. Anyway, I hope my GoPro is working. Happy trails.